In my many years of suprasensory experience so far, this case is undoubtedly the most terrifying and dangerous. On the night shortly after New Year's Day, 1987, a transoceanic phone call came in. Layman Fawn, the other party says, "I'm laywoman R, how are you? I haven't greeted you for a long time, how is the elderly lady?" Laywoman R, "Hello. You must have an emergency." Long distance calls are expensive, so you don't need to say compliments. If you have anything, please say it directly. Who is seriously ill lying in the ward of a French hospital? Is he your master? Did you see it? Laywoman R said, "I didn't even open my mouth, and you already knew it. What's so difficult about this?" I smiled. "You called to ask how your master's condition is, what kind of disease, and whether it can be cured, right?" "I don't even need to explain," R says. "Since you have seen it, would you tell me? Several of our disciples are here waiting to hear your advice." I said, "R, prepare for the worst. All of your master's internal organs are bleeding, and the internal bleeding is quite serious, especially his liver, which is hardened, and his blood vessels have burst, his internal organs have stench, like a dead rat. His cancer has come to this stage, and he bleeds internally, vomits blood, and bleeds in stool." R said, "You are right, Master vomits blood and bleeds in stool, and the stinky smell fills the entire house, like the rotten smell of a dead mouse. However, the doctor has not been able to confirm his disease. Did you say it's the liver? We don't know yet and are still waiting for the diagnosis." I know my observations can't be wrong. "Then, do you think he still can recover?" R asks, "How can we save him?" "I'm not sure if there is any way to save him." I reply, "He has been terminally ill. Please do whatever you can to save him." She begged me. I don't have that much talent. As disciples, we can't just watch the honored master suffer like this. R says, "Layman Fawn, you must save this elderly man no matter what." I can't break the cause and effect. I sigh, I really can't. "I'm so sorry. You'd better ask the doctor to save him. This is a terminal illness. Our master has been practicing for more than 50 years, and he cultivated so well. How could he be so ill?" R asks, "It's impossible. Didn't you say that he cultivated very well?" "Yes, he has always been cultivating well. You asked me, will he have relics in the future? I said, he will have relics. However, over the past few years, he suddenly changed, and his cultivation has collapsed. It's like someone tries to pile up a 30-meter high hill but falls short of one bucket of dirt. So, will he still have relics in the future? It's hard to say," I replied. "The relics in his body have gradually melted. I doubt there will be many grains remain in the future. Can't you really save him? I'm just a mortal. If I'm sick, I can't even save myself. What skills do I have to interfere with the causality of others? He has cultivated all his life and cultivated so well, yet he will end up like this." R sigh, "What is the reason for this? What is the causality that you just mentioned?" "You'd better ask your teacher," and he knew it in this mind. "We must save him no matter what." R says, "We will do whatever it takes. Even though you want to do it at any cost, you cannot break karma. If you insist on interfering with karma, I am afraid you must bear the consequences of sin instead of him. We would rather suffer for Master," she says firmly. R's teacher is over 70 years old and is a well-known tantric monk, very skillful at tantric mantras and proficient in feng shui and horoscope as well. I don't quite understand how an eminent Buddhist monk regards looking at feng shui as his profession, which puzzled me the same as that another Dharma master runs a fortune-telling business somewhere. Didn't the Buddha warn his disciples not to believe in horoscope or divination? I have never met the so-and-so master. I only know his disciple, laywoman R, and she always visits me every time she comes to Canada. She really admires her teacher so much that every time she mentions his various miraculous events. However, she never mentioned the fact that he looks at feng shui and tells fortune by facial features for clients. but I know that he has made a lot of acquaintances through watching Feng Shui and received many wealthy people as disciples. He is skilled in looking at Feng Shui and earns a lot of money. It's said that he takes thousands of dollars for just one look. I never mentioned this to R, lest she dismisses my words as sour grapes. It's none of my business, so why should I bother? I can't even keep up with my own business. The so-and-so master bought lots of real estates but has only one temple. He has 1,000 disciples, but none of them is a monastic, and that is quite out of the ordinary. His most favorite thing is to travel. He often flies to and from the United States, Canada, Europe, Taiwan, China, and Japan. But he didn't go anywhere to preach the Dharma. I have never heard of him preaching scriptures while he is traveling. It seems he only preaches in his temple. All his behavior is different from that of ordinary monks. Therefore, it's difficult to judge his deeds with limited information. 2 years before the year before, he gathered with a group of rich family disciples, came to Toronto, Canada, and stayed in a luxury hotel. At that time, at a Vancouver residence, R specially called artisans to decorate a new house suite in anticipation of her masters coming to live there. However, he did not come. He changed his mind temporarily and went to the United States for sightseeing. Originally, R said when he came to Vancouver, she would go with him to meet me at my home, but he didn't show up, so I missed the opportunity to meet him. Many eminent monks and great virtues visit my house sometimes, and I am swamped with receiving guests. Therefore, when this master did not come, I didn't keep that in mind. Honestly, hosting eminent masters and great virtues is a thankless task. From early in the morning to late in the evening, there is a constant stream of disciples and admirers coming to see them, and I am too busy only to open the door. I have to serve the tea and vegetarian banquet continuously, and the phone rang non-stop. I have to cook rice in a hurry and serve meals several times. Even I set all 4 rice cookers out on duty and still can't keep up. Most of the guests are strangers who treat me like a servant and eat a meal without even a word of appreciation. After the party is over, the kitchen is full of garbage, and I have to wash dishes till midnight. Not to mention the chores that I cannot completely clean up in 3 days, let alone writing articles and reading the scriptures. I'm not stingy and not afraid of subsidizing money for offering. However, every time I have to sacrifice a few days of precious time, which bothers me the most. Occasionally I encounter a few guests who force me to look at their fortune, business, etc. Not only did I feel doubly lost, but I was also provoked. When the phone bill came in the following month, there are several extra long-distance calls for no reason. I wondered which distinguished guests took advantage of the chaos and made the long-distance calls. That's why I'm afraid of receiving big-name masters, their followers, plus a group of uninvited guests. Once they come, they cost me 1 month of grocery shopping expenses. Therefore, I really feel lucky that R's master didn't show up. The Venerable Master apparently knew my name from laywoman R, and he once entrusted his disciple with sending me greetings messages. I also asked them to return the greetings. But other than that, we don't have further interaction, and I don't know about his situation. But R often ask me, how is our master's magical power? And say, our master has very famous divine abilities. I wonder who is higher or lower if you compare with him? Of course, your master has higher magic power. I smiled. He has been cultivating for over 50 years. He eats more salt than I eat rice. What magic power do I have? What talent do I have? R often ask me the tantric mantra taught by their master. Have you learned this mantra? Do you know that mantra? I usually told her the truth frankly, I don't know it at all, I never learned before, I haven't learned many tantric mantras. From R's words, I learned that the Venerable Master is proficient in many tantric mantras and has great divine abilities that I think he is definitely beyond me. I don't have good cultivation. Although I learn both exotericism and tantra. In fact, I only acquire a few skills in both. This is a fact. How can I compare to the Master? In the summer of last year, 1986, R called from overseas and asked me, my master wants us to accompany him to the mainland China to tour Juhua Mountain. Do you think he can go? Can I go? If you can bear the fatigue and hardship of the journey, anywhere you can go, I said. You don't need to ask me. It'd be better to ask you. I know you're worried that your master's health can't bear the fatigue, I said. Honestly, he is so old and weak, he'd be better not to travel around. Wouldn't it be easier for him to preach the scriptures in the temple? You know he likes to travel, he can't sit still. He's the opposite of me, I laughed and said. I'm the one who's so afraid of traveling. You don't have to travel, R laughed. Wherever you want to go, your soul can reach there instantly. I can't deny that. You know, it's more convenient for me to travel in this way, I said. Indeed, when closing my eyes, I can immediately reach many places, including space, the depths of the universe and any corner of the earth. I didn't imagine it. I saw it as soon as I closed my eyes. As writing this article, as soon as I close my eyes, I can see the Dalian port and the moored ships and port facilities clearly as if they are in front of my eyes, but I have never been to Dalian. When closing my eyes again, I see the prairie of Jinshan Mountain. Then I think of Taipei. When closing my eyes, I am standing on the street in front of Taipei railway station with hundreds of cars and motorcycles, which frightens me to fly away immediately. My celestial eyesight actually comes with a divine foot ability. Of course, my skills are still very low. Once, R said on a transoceanic phone call that she had her eye on a house and asked me to see if there was any problem. She just gave me the address. As I closed my eyes, the house on the hillside appeared instantly. It's a Spanish-style house with red tiles, creamy yellow and white walls, I said. There's a big hall, hardwood floors, fabulous furniture, red carpet, and 5 bedrooms. Via the large windows overlook Hong Kong and Lantau Island, with open work iron fences and large iron gates. This land is low in the front and high in the back, with gardens, lychee trees and mango trees, with double garages and workers' room. This house was designed and built by the owner himself, about 10 years old. The old gentleman is a construction engineer and has retired. He probably wants to sell it and emigrate to the United States. The materials are first class, and the environment is gorgeous. But the asking price is too expensive. That's exactly correct. You can see it very clearly. R said. When R's master was hospitalized, first, I automatically pointed out that he was in a French hospital. I have never seen the master or even a photo, and R has never mentioned his health condition, nor did I know about it. However, in my brain emerges his thinness to the skin and bones. His skin was darkened and stiffened. His internal organs were bleeding. Everything seemed to be in sight. There was a phoenix tree outside the window of his private wardroom, and I saw the shadows of the branches and leaves. My observation is confirmed a few days later. The disciples are so alarmed that they recommend R to come to me in person and discuss this matter. The next day after R gets off the plane, she comes to see me in a hurry. Layman Fawn, she says, your diagnosis for our master's symptom is completely accurate, and the doctor has confirmed it. Now all the disciples want me to come and beg you to save our master, and you can't refuse no matter what. Didn't I tell you? I have neither divine abilities nor magic power. Besides, I am not a doctor, I say. I can't break the cause and effect. You are looking for me in vain. Even though I want to help your master, I don't know what to do. Our master knows what you should do, says R. This time is his own will. He asked us to beg you to help him, and he said that only you can help him. He thinks too highly of me, I say and shake my head. But the mantra he wants me to recite for him is way more than I can handle. You already knew it? He wants all you disciples to recite the mantra for him, right? I say, how many times does he want you to recite the tantric mantra? He wants me to recite the Mahasaitatapatra white parasol mantra, is that so? He asked me to recite the Great Compassion mantra 599 times for him, or said. He also wants you to recite the Mahasaitatapatra mantra for him, but he did not mention how many times. I shake my head, it's useless. He said that as long as you are willing to recite it, it will be useful. Is there a mantra in the world that can break karma? I smiled bitterly, even the Mahasaitatapatra mantra can't break karma. Only he can save himself now, no one else can. How to save himself. He can donate all of his wealth accumulated over the years to charitable organizations and spent tens of millions of dollars to help the poor, the sick, the hungry and the cold, to the nursing homes, orphanages and hospitals, to the International Red Cross and the Buddhist Tzu Hospital, help the hungry in Ethiopia or the poor and sick in India. Planting some good causes in this way will surely reap some good fruits. Perhaps, it can prolong his life for a while and even heal his disease. I'm afraid he won't. Won't he wake up at this point? I said, shouldn't he use his tens of millions of dollars, most of which were donated by the Buddhists, for compassionate giving? Who else is he keeping that for? Even if he can achieve a fruition, can he bring the money with him? He only built a temple in his lifetime. He did not make great efforts to do the 6 paramita and never did charity to help the suffering. Won't he wake up at the last minute? Sorry, I am criticizing your master. R remains silent. I know he has acquired many properties over the years, with inexhaustible rents and interest. But he never used them for social charity. A group of wealthy people surround him and hold him in palms to travel the world, staying in big hotels and enjoying luxury. Although he is a vegetarian, the merits do not offset his faults. You should give him an advice. It's not too late to do good deeds. Maybe there will be a miracle. R makes a phone call to persuade the master, but he refuses, saying that he had his own plans and did not need outsiders to worry about. The master, who cannot eat or drink, is still counting money while lying on his sickbed and orders his disciples to buy another building to collect rent. He also calls someone to apply for an Australian visa. He wants to travel and live in Australia for a while. What should we do? R asks me. I have no idea. When R calls again, he refuses to answer the phone but instructs his disciples to pass his words. Just telephone to recite the Mahasaitatapatra mantra. I am not a disciple of the master, so I am not obligated to recite the Mahasaitatapatra mantra for him, and I know that reciting it will not save him. However, R is pleading piteously, and she also keeps chanting the Great Compassion mantra for her master day and night. I have no choice but to promise her. That night, I take a bath and worship the Buddha, then I sit with my legs crossed, pose a mudra, and recite the Mahasaitatapatra mantra. It was initially a clear day that night. When I am halfway through reciting, gusty winds suddenly blow outside the window, and all the dark clouds flow over and obscures the stars and the moon. I am amazed when suddenly, the sky outside flashes 1,000 feet of emerald green light, directly approaching my house. A burst of cold air invades my room, freezing my whole body to be icy cold. I usually do not feel chilly. Relying on my innate vigorous chi to protect my body, I never feared cold. I have never shivered, even in the weather of a few degrees below zero. But this time, I shiver several times in a row. The temperature that night is only about 0 degrees, so it couldn't have chilled me like this. The mystery cold green light mist has invaded my Buddhist hall. There appears a terrifying sound amid the haze. I listen to it carefully, and there are 72 voices. What kind of monster is this? Following the sound appears a giant demon. He has 1,000 heads, each head is different, green-faced and fang, snake mouth, eagle beak, tiger head, dragon head, 3-eyed, 7-eyed, saber-toothed, spewing green flames, puffing out the golden air, flashing devil eye, spitting devil tongue, that is extremely horrible. It's weird that the body is only one, and that is in the shape of a dragon, full of long golden scales, flooded with green gold ghostly light. He hung upside down from the clouds in the sky, looking down at me, with his light covering the northern half of the sky. It looks as if he is going to devour me immediately. I am frightened out of my mind. I wasn't scared for myself, I am scared for my mother, who is sleeping upstairs in her bedroom at the time, and I know the demon might attack both of us. What kind of demon are you? I ask with my mind in panic. Why do you appear? You don't even remember me? The giant demon says with his mind, what a bold boy, how dare you use the Mahasaitatapatra mantra to interfere in my business. Oh. So that's what happened. I say in my mind, ah. I can recognize you now. You're the Dharma Guardian divine demon. Don't you dare mention my name. He interrupted me, dare you mention my name, I will destroy you and your mother. Don't be so unreasonable, old man. I smiled coldly, if I have done something wrong, you can punish me. Why should my mother be involved? If you, my child, dare to fight me again by reciting the Mahasaitatapatra or other mantra, I will make your mother suffer. The demon says, you have a little cultivation, I can't do anything to you, but your mother has been lax recently, I can make her suffer. You are so unreasonable, I have no choice but to perish with you. You are protecting your shortcomings. The demon's mind turns stern, how dare you fight me? How much power do you have? You child, with 5 lifetimes of cultivation, are like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. If you dare to hurt my mother, I scolded him in my mind, I will fight you, even though your power is beyond mine. I concentrate with all my mind and emit golden light and red light, covering my whole body and my mother. Okay, I'll make your mother suffer a little bit. His dark green light turns so flourishing that my golden light and red light are like a firefly in comparison. How dare you act wildly? I shout. I pose a mudra and use the 5 thunderbolts righteous law, which I never dared to use before. I had tried this method 4 years ago. That night, Vancouver's sky was full of lightning. 21 electric trees were flashing in the sky around my house. This was an extraordinary phenomenon in Vancouver, where usually has rare thunders and lightning. It made the headlines the next day. The meteorologists could not explain how there could be more than 20 lightning bolts on a snowy night. This time, I pose a mudra and recite the mantra. Within seconds the northern sky leapt with lightning, and the sound of thunder was slightly rumbling. The honored master, Sacro Divinum Indra, I shout, come and save me and my mother quickly. The Sacro's triple iridescence immediately appears in the night sky above. The golden light is flashing like the aurora borealis, covering the green light of the demon. The golden light is like a waterfall, like a round, huge parasol, and I know that the honored master Sacro Divinum is coming. The giant demon retreats in fear, and the green light suddenly shrinks. Before leaving, he sends me a message in mind. Child, you should not have relied on your divine abilities and elusively used Saitatapatra mantra to help people break karma, so I came to punish you. I know I can't hurt you, only hurting your mother will make you afraid. In fact, I am not afraid of your 5 thunderbolts at all. I am the god of Dharma Guardian. I am doing the right duty to protect laws. I will absorb all the practice essence of that old monk. You can no longer be nosy. Today, for the sake of the Sacro Divinum's face, I'm leaving. I hope you do not try to be overbearing in the future and indiscriminately use divine abilities to interfere with karma. I wouldn't dare anymore. I bow down. Please go well. It seems like a dream, a fantasy, a fake, but it's true. I open my eyes and see that the incense is not exhausted. Still, the sky is clear, the moon is bright, and the stars are thin. I do not dare to recite the Mahasaitatapatra mantra for that master anymore. I bow and pay my homage to Sacro Divinum, and it is 3 a.m. at night. I push open the door and see my mother still asleep. I remember in my mind the words of the divine demon. I dare not sleep. There are still 2 hours before dawn, and the divine demon could come back until dawn. I meditate with my legs crossed and recite the sutra. Unexpectedly, I am so tired that I fall asleep and wake up at 7 a.m. There has been no trace of the shocking storm that I experienced last night. My mother calls me from her room, and I push the door to see her. She is sitting on the floor, unable to move. Her left foot is bruised and swollen. She is too sick to move. She says that after 4 a.m., somehow, she fell out of bed and sprained her ankle. Her lips were cracked and bleeding. I knew exactly the reason in my mind, and I made a wish and say to the demon silently, "Please take back the magic power. I have promised you I won't dare to interfere with Kamma anymore." The divine demon who retreated to Juhua Mountain nods, "Okay, I will take back the magic. Your mother should have suffered for 7 days, but I will take back the magic power tomorrow." I use my internal power and some medicine to heal my mother. But on this day, she cannot walk at all and has to be carried by me. Then she gets well the next day. I call her and talk about my experience. I say that whether you believe this matter is true or false, I dare not bother with your master anyway. You'd better leave him alone too. Otherwise, the divine demon will punish you. R is not quite convinced of my story. Who would believe such a mysterious story of a demon? She still works hard that night as usual, reciting the Great Compassion mantra and other mantras for her master. Unexpectedly, something happened, and I see the scene the divine demon warns her. The next day she calls me and says, "Last night, all the doors suddenly closed, and I couldn't pull them. There was a big noise inside the house. Dark red smoke billowed out of the kitchen and rushed into the rooms. We were all terrified and couldn't push the door open. Later, we pushed the door open, but the kitchen had no flames. Wow, it was so scary. Now I believe your story. I dare not go against heaven anymore and dare not recite the tantric mantra for the master again. I say we are forgivable for not knowing the causes and effects. But if we know the causes and effects, we should not forcefully break them for personal reasons. All tantric mantra are righteous dharma, but righteous dharma is not used to break karma, much less to help evil. Your master has practiced for more than 50 years but in vain. In the end, he cannot avoid being destroyed by the mindset of greed, the first of the 3 poisons. He won't give the fortune donated by the devotees or do good deeds. We rely on divine abilities to recite the tantric mantra to help him break karma, so we recruited the warning from the Dharma guardian deity. Isn't this event a great lesson for us? What a terrible law of causality, R said. I will call the master, try my best once more, and advise him to give his property to charity immediately. Very well. If he can repent and correct his faults, I believe the divine demon will show mercy and be lenient. Unfortunately, R's advice is again rejected by her master. I'm sure the readers can guess the consequences of this incident, so I don't need to write further. The above story of my turbulent struggle with the divine demons is undoubtedly a myth or fantasy to people without supersense or spiritual experience. However, to me personally, it is not so absurd. In terms of my feelings, it was an indelible lesson and a real experience that I cannot pass on to anyone. From now on, I won't dare to rely on my divine abilities to help others to do anything against cause and effect. If there is such a thing again, no matter how much faith he has, I will no longer be willing to contribute. You may consider this section as a fairy tale. However, many people saw the strange thunder and lightning over the sky that night, the aurora borealis-like rainbow and the giant waterfall of golden light. The news also reported this as a strange phenomenon that people had never seen before in Vancouver. In the spiritual world, many phenomena are not known to those who are only familiar with the material world. R later told me that the master fell ill in Juhua Mountain. The master himself said he saw a monster with fish scales eating his primordial spirit. He thought it was a fish spirit, but he could not see the whole thing, only the scaled part. Is my experience real? Or is it a fantasy? Please judge for yourself.